Hey, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, one half of the creative team behind DungeonSwag.com. And we have two left from the May unboxing to finish. I know we're in June, but you know how it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick by rolling 1, 2, and or no, let's do evens and odds. So evens will be the guy on the left, odds will be on the guy on the right. So it's going to be evens, the guy on the left. It's this gentleman here. He had a larger axe. I did whack that off some just to make it a little more, you know, the way I wanted it to look when it was done. So it's really hot in here, so I don't want to spend all day if we can help it. And I'm going out of town tomorrow, so I'd also like to spend time with my family. So we're going to try to keep this under an hour. I'm going to turn this fan back on so I don't sweat to death. Sorry about the noise. So we've had a common theme across all these guys, and that theme has been that their loincloths have been red. So we're going to stick with that theme. I'm going to start by pulling out some of this red. Starting out pretty good here. Coloring the lines, if you will. Alright, I think that's all we need to do with the red for now. We do need to come underneath the back here and get that red where it's real dark. We need to go through the front here and do the same. Okay, so we have to worry about his undergarments. I did a brown, I did a blue, I did a black, I did a gray. We don't want to break our color scheme too much by changing things drastically. So let's think about that for a minute while we come back and do the face. The face is pretty light, so we're going to get a really tiny brush. Or small, I mean, not light. And we're going to darken that face up so that we get some... when we put the speed paint in there, we actually get some result. So what I did is I just went in there and lightened up his face. Man, I can't. Let's see here. I just went in and lightened up his face. Let me see if I can paint like this, and maybe you guys can see a little better. I hope so. I should probably speak up with that fan on too. Not like anybody watches. I don't blame you. Mini painting isn't the most exciting thing to watch. Alright, so we need to get that flesh done. And even though I recommend you don't often... yeah, never mind. We need to do the undercover, but we're going to have to wait for that red to dry. Because what happens is if that's not dry, when we do the clothing next to it, it'll bleed across. So I guess we can do something with this fur up here. Now what I did with the other furs was I used this this stone color, but I don't want this fur to have any brown in it. I want this to be like a very like whitish gray. So we're just gonna get our brush here and we're gonna hit that fur. And it's okay if you go over where the metal is, just like with the other stuff, because that's gonna be one of the last things we do is come back and hit the metal. Now, make no mistake about this. This is not a tutorial. This is just me painting and talking to y'all. And I don't think he has any more fur showing anywhere besides up here around his metal. That's a hard thing to work on there. That little interior trim. If you're a better painter, it's not, but for me, it's a lot because I am not steady-handed or a phenomenal painter. But I'll tell you what, just painting these guys with like a couple basic dry brushes and stuff is how I painted a lot of them early on. They looked really good like that, so I can't complain too much. We can do some of the base now. I think find a brush that I'm willing to use for that. I was down here yesterday after I painted the miniature number 4, and my oldest son and I made a mock-up of the Millennium Falcon for our game we're playing, for our sci-fi campaign we're in the middle of. So as I wrote the rough outline of the campaign to be 7 movies. So it's kind of like fast-paced space opera sci-fi, and they just did the 7th movie Saturday. And at the end of the movie, they pulled out of the swamp on a made-up non-canon planet called Taka 5. They pulled up an old freighter that looks an awful lot like the Falcon. Is it the Falcon? No. Because it's not really Star Wars. It's fake Star Wars. I don't have the licensing rights to use Star Wars in my stuff. So it's just surprisingly similar with enough changes to where you couldn't really say it was. You could be like, oh, that's inspired by easily, but you couldn't say, oh, that is for sure. Okay, we got that. Let's hit this rock. So if you're wondering why I'm using craft paint on the bases, in part it's because I like these colors as starting tones to work down from, for one, and for two, since I use it so much on my terrain, in theory it'll mash with my terrain well. It's got the same undertones. Is that true? I don't know. I didn't really test it or even think about it too much. It occurred to me, and I was just kind of like, yeah. I was really just doing it because I like the base coat colors. All right, so our red's not dry yet. We can do the flesh now for sure. Let's get this Crusader skin, which is the only flesh speed paint I have, but it works as a good undercoat for when I lighten the skin up to be other. So you just want to get in there and just hit the face up, not the helmet. Same thing with the hands. Get them coated evenly. Alright, let's get that brush rinsed out. Alright, so where can we go from here? The red's not quite dry. We don't want to do the metal yet. We've done the flesh. We've started on the base. We could do this, start working on our axe blade. So I'm going to get this gunmetal here. And I'm going to get a regiment brush. And we're going to come back to that later. Do something with that. Now, our guy yesterday, we had some gold highlights that looked pretty good. So I think what I want to do is something similar to that, but maybe not with gold. I think I want to try that with like an orange. And I just want to touch these little weird cross deals on his chest. See those? I just want to kind of touch those. And if I like how that looks, maybe we'll do some other stuff too. I do like that. Wish he had some on the back too. Oh well. Alright. So I think the red should be dry enough to where we can hit that undercoat on the clothing down here. And on his back, looking at that, I would say that it's probably not armor. That's probably cloth, and that he's just wearing, for some reason, unlike the other ones, he just has his chest plate. But we're going to paint that, I think we're going to do that silver anyways, just to keep it all kind of congruent, looking the same. I mean, it's the back of the miniature. It's not going to break anything significantly. Let's get rid of our tape. Get a new piece. And let's start attacking the undergarments. And I think I'm going to hit those undergarments. Something. Well, you know what? Let's do that runic gray that we're doing the armor in. We haven't tried that yet. It might actually end up being pretty good for us doing that. Because any mistakes that we do when we're overbrushing on the silver might just work as interest on this portion. And that's probably something we could have thought about from the beginning and done, but could have done that on all of them if I'd have thought about it. There's a little bit of red splash back there, but I think it'll be alright. Let's touch these in the front a little better. I mean, he looks pretty cool like that, kind of. But we got to keep going, guys. We gotta. Alright, his hand should be pretty dry. So let's get a brown and do that haft. I have this dark wood here. Let's try that out. Whoop. Looks like that's how much we get. All right. While we're waiting for that to dry, let's kill some time and do the black around the base. That's a me thing. Some people don't like it, some people do, but it's my preference is to have black around the base. And what I do, if you've not seen before, is I just follow where my baking soda leaves off. And I just kind of come around there and paint that. Oh, shoot. Dipped it right in the blue. Hold on, let me get that cleaned off. Need to grab this black. So, I had a very nice day today. I went to work, and a guy that I worked with before I got promoted, who kind of took over as the boss there for me. Well, sort of. It's a weird situation. But anyways, the guy who took over was there, and we get along really well. And we had a nice time, and we hung out and drank some coffee and got some stuff done, and we had a little meeting we both had to go to, and we had a phone conference. It was nice. We sat there and hung out and had a good day, though. I enjoyed that. I don't get to see him as much as I'd like. Alright, so we're going to get the shining silver. We're going to ploop some of that out. I said ploop, not poop. And then we're going to catch this armor. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm zoomed in so far you can't see what I'm doing. Alright. I'm just sitting there in silence, painting. One of the nice things about these minis is they have a lot of detail. So if you were like super motivated to do so, or a phenomenal painter that could do it quickly, you could really just do something like Armando. You should see our minis after he paints them. He's on our Discord, and he is just extremely talented. He has not only painted our stuff, he has done some of the Raul Partha reboot stuff. Like, several companies have reached out to him to paint. It wasn't like we weren't the first people that reached out and asked him to paint. He just happened to like our minis, and we were able to get some boxes. He was buying them from us. We didn't know who he was or how good he was. And then when we found out that he was buying them from us, I think we gave him a few. I don't remember now. I don't want to lie. I don't want to be wrong. So, I'm off camera again. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm really bad at that. Now, perfection on this silver coat is not actually a necessity. Because in reality, you're not going to be able to really tell once this mini's painted unless you're right up in his face. Alright, so now we got to tackle this part, which is the part I dread, and that's this area around the helmet. Let me get a smaller brush. This area around the helmet and like the neck guard piece. Now, when you get it on this helmet, you're going to make sure you're brushing towards the high spots so that you're not hitting that face. That's kind of a pain in the butt, but that's just, you know, what must be done there. You got to really be careful because you don't want to mess up the face you work so hard on. All right. Just got a couple little touch-up spots here we got to hit. Looking pretty good. Remember what I said about this back piece, that we should do that in armor? I think we should. I was right. Now there's a bunch of little straps and stuff on here. And if you wanted to, you could get in here and individually do all those straps. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. See that? There's like several straps going across his back there. I just painted them silver. And I might come back through and hit those with something else, or I might not. So let me clean out my brush. Let's get a little brown. This is just army paint, leather brown it's called. Front of the belt, back of the belt. Just touch that up a little bit better. There we go. Alright, let's set him down for a moment and zoom back out. Clean the brush for a second. Now we're at this point. Gonna come back and do some different tones on the dirt and the rock down there so they look a little more realistic. Let's get this brush again. We'll use that same, let me get a piece of cardboard. We use this same leather brown and hit this base up, just dragging it around lightly. If you saw the other videos, you know what I'm doing here. If you're new watching this, all I'm doing is breaking up the texture of that dirt. Okay, we're going to get this lighter gray. This is uniform gray. Just a little dot there. A little smidge of that black, a little bit of that. Mix it up. Wipe a lot of that off. Slightly lighter gray on the stone. Just touching it. Just brushing it across there. Now, I'm going to lighten both of those up a little bit. I have this skeleton bone here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a tad of that brown, a little bit of that skeleton bone, lighten that up. I'm going to wipe a lot of it off. Then I'm going to come back in here and hit just little spots again on the dirt. And then I'm going to get a little bit of that gray and mix it with that. It's like a grayish brown. And come back and touch that rock a little bit. Alright. Our flesh should be light enough to play with. So let's get some of this tanned flesh here. Let's just get a little dot of that. Oh, a little bit more. We'll lighten that up with this, whatever this was, skeleton bone. And we're going to come up and touch his hands. Pick up just the outer features with it. And we can just lighten that up a teeny bit more. And wipe a lot more of it off and just touch the high spots. I just wiped it on his nose. That might have been a mistake. Alright, let me scratch at my back of my leg here. A fly or something just got me. Alright, so let's do some work on this axe blade. We tried blue the other day and it was a terrible mistake, so we're going to use this Gravelord Gray again. We're running out of tape here. Probably don't need that big of a drop. That's alright. We want to subdue the metal on that some. Then we're going to give them a few moments to settle down. We'll go back and make sure we got all our silver spots. Yeah, I think we did. He looks alright. Now, the last step, and this is going to be the most grueling step, is to get that runic gray again. Start painting his armor. We're going to start with the larger brush, this regiment brush. And we're going to start hitting that armor. And we're not going to go too thin this time. We're going to try to get enough on there to give it some look. So I'm just putting enough on there to really get it down in the grooves and cover it up better than I did on the other models. Because I want this guy to look a little more like his armor's made out of something a different material maybe. I gotta get a little more. Wiping off a little extra on a model sometimes with the speed paint is better than having to keep going back and stretching it out, because you won't get the look exactly that you were aiming for. I have way too much blue, huh? Let's look at them up close here. We gotta do that helmet, and we gotta do that metal guard, neck guard. Okay. Let's look for high spots. Make sure that we didn't leave too much on or not put enough. Because this stuff will drain down off the high spots. Alright. So, we got a couple little jobs to do here. We have to lighten up his fur a little bit. We're going to use that same regiment brush we just used. I just might rinse it out a little bit. We're going to get a small bit of uniform gray. I'm going to wipe a lot of that off. We're going to come up under it. We're just going to dab that fur. And we're going to brush down. I'm going to come up just on the bottom there. So we're lightening that up. We're going to lighten up a little bit more. This is called ash gray. This is a little bit lighter than that. You can go ahead and leave the uniform in there. Just grab the ash. And you want to wipe a lot of that off. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to come down. A lot of down. A little up. A lot of down. A little up, and we're going to get this mummy robes. Little dab of that, bigger dab of that. Mix that around on our brush and wipe most of that off. Now this is probably more like your what you would consider a traditional dry brush here. Lighten that up significantly. Alright, what else can we do here? It looks pretty sick. Oh, you know what we didn't do? Let's get the shining silver out. Let's get the shining silver and hit the blade of his axe. Alright, and then I think we should lighten up that handle a little bit. So let me get my brush out, cleaned out there. We'll focus on that. Alright, we're cruising right along here on a beautiful Monday. Got some of this oak brown. And we're going to just Grab a little bit of that. Coat our brush evenly, wipe a lot of it off. We're just going to drag it around on that handle and bring it down a notch. Lighten it up a little bit. Let's go a little lighter. Steal some of that gray. Steal some of that uniform gray. Lighten it up. So we definitely added some layers there. I think we could do some cleanup work on his hands, but I'm not overly worried about it. I'd like to get a fractional brush and do some work around the face of that helm. Alright, so watch me screw my mini up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this white on the fractional brush. I'm going to wipe some of it off so it's the same amount. And this isn't pure white. This is mummy robes or whatever that is. Lighten that up. Accent his face a little bit. I want to get a little bit on these crosses. Now I worked up the right cross, okay? So now we gotta get that orange back and try to fix that. All right. It's not beautiful. But it'll do. Alright, just one little thing. When I was doing that white around his helmet, I got a little bit of white on his chin. So we just got to get back in there and make his chin a flesh color again. Alright, so that's about as good as it gets when you're painting with me. There are some little details I'm going to do real quick, and then we're going to call it. So, on his axe, there are these little like things inside that cross, and I think I'd like to paint those red maybe. So I'm just going to get a really small campaign brush here, or I'm sorry, the starter brush. I'm just going to touch those dots. Get a better look at him real quick. That's what we came up with. Nothing spectacular. I'm not a great painter, but for the skill I have, it looks alright, and we can put it on the table and people can kill it or they can play it. Well, trying to learn how to zoom my camera with 2 hands, or 1 hand. Alright, so that's what we came up with. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. If you like these minis, which, you know, obviously I love them, go ahead and in the description of this or any of the videos, you'll see the DungeonSwag website link and the Discord link. And you can actually get on our Discord and talk to us. Tom, or, well, Scorbix is his video game name and his Discord name, but Doom and Scorbix, we're the guys who do DungeonSwag. We pick the minis, we pay for the rights to print them, we print them, we mail them out, everything. Any questions you have, feel free to contact us on there. And feel free to try to buy some of our minis. Right now we have a discount code, BISCUITS, and that'll get you 25% off the first month. And if you are enjoying the videos, please like and subscribe. That helps. I do have a cleaver that says like and subscribe on it. It's a +5 cleaver of liking and subscribing, but it's upstairs and I didn't bring it down. So thanks for watching. Have an amazing evening. Amazing evening. Blah, blah, blah.